Hi everyone, my name's Hillary. I am one of Miss Christel's friends from New York City. I used to volunteer with Miss Christel when she worked at my church, the Journey Church in New York City, and we are still dear friends, and I see her at your church, Epic Church, anytime I go to visit my family in Buffalo. I'd like to read you a story today called The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. I bet you didn't know that there was a story from the wolf's perspective, did you? That's what this is. It is written by John Scieszka. He's a pretty famous author, and it was illustrated by Lane Smith. This book is an oldie but a goodie. I think it came out, it's copyrighted from 1989. None of you were born then. I was 9 years old at that point, and I hope you enjoy this story. It's great. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. And my, in this case, is the wolf side of the story. I am the wolf. Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this big bad wolf thing got started, but it's all wrong. Gosh, he looks kind of confused about that, doesn't he? Maybe it's because of our diet. Hey, it's not my fault wolves like to eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, folks would probably think that you were big and bad too. That's a cheeseburger wolf style. Can you see all the stuff in there? Yikes. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is all wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. Looks like the wolf is trying to teach us with his chalkboard what's really going on here. This is the real story. Way back in Once Upon a Time land, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold, and I ran out of sugar. Look at that wolf baking for his dear old granny. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now, this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He had built his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So there's the wolf, doo-dee-doo, walking down the road to the straw house. So of course, the minute I knocked on the door, I fell right in. I didn't want to just walk into someone's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. But that's when my nose started to itch. Then I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed. And I puffed. And I snuffed. And achoo! I blew a great sneeze. Look at that wolf's sneeze. It looks like a volcano erupting. Uh-oh. And you know what? That whole darn straw house fell down, and right in the middle of the straw pile was the first little pig. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to live a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as like a big cheeseburger just lying there. So I felt a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar, so I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the bell on the pig's house and no one answered. So I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He called back, go away, wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. Oh, this is him shaving his little chinny chin hairs. See his little pig razor? I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I let out a giant sneeze. Oh my word, look at that sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this pig's house fell down too, just like his brother's. As the dust cleared, there was the second pig. Scout's honor. Interesting story, Mr. Wolf. Now, you know food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. Anyway, I was getting awfully full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I just didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family because he built his house out of bricks. My goodness, look at the wolf's belly. He's really full. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? And do you know what that person said to me? Get out of here, wolf. Don't bother me again. Talk about impolite. He probably had all sorts of sugar, and he wouldn't give me even one little cup for my dear, sweet old granny's birthday cake? I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed one more time, and the third little pig yelled, "And your little old granny can sit on a pin." The wolf looks really surprised. Now, I'm usually pretty calm, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course I was trying to break down the pig's door, and the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. Achoo, achoo, achoo. There's the wolf outside of the pig's brick house, trying to get in but not being able to. The rest, as they say, is history. There's the big bad wolf in the newspaper. The news reporters found out about the 2 pigs I had for dinner, and they figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all of that huff and puff and blow your house down stuff, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. That's the real story. I was framed. But maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar. And there's the big bad wolf behind bars in jail. The end. So I'm not sure what you think about that Three Little Pigs story versus the Little Pig story that you've heard. But it's one of my favorite books because I used to read it to my little brother every night before he went to bed. So I thought I would share it with all of you. I hope you enjoyed it. It's a little silly, but it's a good one. So hopefully you had fun listening. And I hopefully will come back and read you another story sometime. Good night.